All right, hey guys, how are we? Welcome to a impromptu episode of, I suppose you'll call it talking boxing, whatever you want to call it. Just get my microphone and all that handy there. You all would have seen or heard at the moment that Tyson Fury, or by now that Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk is, what would you call it? Is it off? Is it cancelled? Is it postponed? They're saying it's postponed, looking at June at this stage, but there's been a lot said this morning. I'm sure you've been all across the social media and the websites and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to give you my quick 2 cents worth. But the official statement this morning from Queensberry Boxing or Queensberry Promotions is, I'll read it there if I can say it. WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury has been forced to postpone his fight with unified champion Oleksandr Usyk after sustaining a freak cut during a sparring session in Riyadh. The cut, which opened above Fury's right eye, required urgent medical attention and significant stitching and will obviously require a period of recovery, scuppering any possibility of the fight with Usyk taking place on February 17th in Saudi Arabia. So a spokesperson said, while this is still breaking news, it is clearly a massive disappointment after the work that has been done by so many people to finally deliver this historic event to the world. Once the doctors have appraised Tyson's eye, we will have a better idea of the period of recovery needed. Once known, we will work diligently with all the stakeholders and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to reschedule this fight as soon as possible, and will, of course, keep everyone updated with development. So that is the official statement from Tyson Fury's or his promoter, Queensberry. But look, I'll be honest with you, and I'm assuming I'm going to speak for a lot of you out there. I know a lot of the experts out there on the different media sites and news sites have said that it's not a surprise. And when I thought about it today, I look, to be honest with you, there's been so much going on in the boxing world recently that I hadn't really taken much notice of this fight and hadn't realised how quickly it had crept up. Now, that says a lot about the event, because one thing that's very noticeable, if you will, of this fight, this is the first time ever all four belts have been up for grabs in the heavyweight division, so a true undisputed heavyweight title fight, and the coverage has been next to nothing. And when, like with recently, I'm speaking with my Australian glasses on here with the Tim Tszyu news and the George Kambosos news and everything going on. And Jason Maloney's just defending his title. Jai Patai's going to be defending his title. And it just slipped through, and I didn't realise it was only 2 weeks away. I don't know what you guys feel about it out there, but only 2 weeks away, and there's been nothing. Now, the conspiracy theorists have been out for a long time on this fight. I must admit, I was trying to give Tyson Fury the absolute benefit of the doubt in this whole situation. He has fought Wilder in the past, but he is prone to this, isn't he? So it's not a surprise, but I was just hoping that this would not be the case. But having said that, this morning you would have all seen, I'm assuming by now, the footage, the cut on the eye. Look, it's a bad cut. But the conspiracy theorists have come out and have said, is it an old picture? I know there has been a few, by the way, that said, why wasn't he using a head guard or wearing headgear? The footage I've seen, he was wearing headgear. I think it was an elbow is what they're saying. The people in the know are saying it's an elbow. I don't think it was an accidental head clash. I'm not sure you can get cut. I'll just fix my camera there. I'm not sure you can actually get cut like it was on that part of the eye with the head guard he was using, although anything can happen, of course. But look, as I said, the conspiracy theorists have said that this was never going to happen. And when I say conspiracy theorists, by the way, I'm not just talking about some nut job out there. I'm talking about, the people in the know, the Sean Porters and Paulie Malignaggi's and, you know what I mean, all the people out there that sort of know, that are on these shows on TV. Greg, I'm with you there, mate. Got it. Yeah, I hear you, mate. If we've got some comments, by the way, guys, make sure you put them in there and we'll have a quick chat about it. I won't be on forever. I just wanted to get on and have my say. But as I said, my first thing this morning when I saw it is that, okay, well, first of all, we're 2 weeks out. why has it taken this long? It was probably one of my first thoughts, and I'm sure yours out there as well. But that's my biggest concern with the whole thing, is that there was no build up, and Fury has been very quiet. Usyk's probably like that all the time, but he's been very quiet in this whole build up. There hasn't been anything I've seen on social media really from him trying to G the fans up, trying to get under Usyk's skin. I know this is not Deontay Wilder, who they went back and forth. I get that. Usyk's a different beast or different type of fighter. But I don't really know what to make of it. A lot of things going around this morning. I've watched a few things. It's been pretty hectic. There is talk that Usyk will go ahead with the February 17 date, because you got to remember this is a big card. Of course, we've got an interest in it. Jai Pataya, Marius Briedis on the undercard. So that has to be effective. I'm sure that the event will go ahead. And worst case, I would say that Jai Pataya and Marius Briedis will be the main event. So don't worry about that, any Jai Pataya fans out there. I'm sure they'll have an undercard for that. Obviously, it won't be as big as Fury and Usyk, but there has been talk that Usyk, and look, a lot of this is all so raw. You know, I'm sure his camp are trying to process this at the moment. I'm sure they would have had some contingency plans in the background in case this did happen. And one thing you will have to consider in this, or understand, when the promoters put these big events on, they always have a fight of sort of some stature on the undercard in a similar weight, so that if something like this does happen, then they can elevate one of the fighters. So we've seen it quite often, and quite famously, I think it was Andy Ruiz. Actually, Andy Ruiz was supposed to be on the undercard of Anthony Joshua's fight. Can't remember who was supposed to fight. It was a Big Baby or one of those. And he was out because of the drug situation. And Andy Ruiz was elevated and created history and won the world title. It happened countless times over the years. But in this case, Filip Hrgovic, always pronounce his name wrong, or Hrgovic, however you want to pronounce it, has been mentioned as someone that might hop in the ring, and that would be actually not a bad fight. So, as I said, the teams of Usyk would be processing this at the moment. I'm sure that the promoters of Fury, obviously Queensberry Promotions and the Sheik and everyone involved in the event, would be scrambling around at the moment thinking, what do we do? I think Usyk at this stage would just be thinking, well, am I going to fight or am I not going to fight? And if I do, who? That's what their concerns are. I know, I'll get to it in a minute. The manager of Oleksandr Usyk, what's his name? Klimas. I'll look for that in a second anyway. Has not been very complimentary of Tyson Fury and has unleashed on him. I'll see if I can find it as we're going. But the promoters of the event would be desperately thinking, what do we do? Do we elevate someone, or do we just go with Jai Pataya, Marius Briedis and postpone it? They are talking about June at this stage. And considering this is the first week of February, to be in June, I mean, we're looking at, 5 months away, 4 to 5 months away. It's a long delay. Greg, I'll get to you there, mate. I'm a huge Fury fan, but I must admit that I'm starting to lose faith a bit. He really hasn't fought anyone since Wilder. No, he hasn't. Well, I think he did retire maybe once or twice along the line as well there, Greg's. So it's not surprising. Yeah, Batman, hi mate. Damn, so bad. Yeah, it is. It is. So as I said, the promoters would be at this stage thinking, running the scenarios, and I'm sure in these big events with so many hundreds of millions of dollars on the line or being invested in these, they have their bases covered, but they would be thinking, do we elevate a fighter to fight Usyk if he wants to fight? That is, do we? Just going to get my microphone out of the way there. I think it's affecting my my camera, but do we just run with Opataya and Briedis? Look, as I said, the event will go ahead. There's no problem about that. It will be Opataya, Briedis, worst case. So yeah, June, does the fight happen? Now, one thing to consider in all of this is that with the contracts in place between the two, there is loopholes that if Tyson Fury wants to get out of this fight, he possibly could. Now, the way he would do that, from what I've gathered, is that if Oleksandr Usyk does, in fact, fight Hrgovic or someone else out there, or anyone in between, I'm pretty sure that negates the current contract. I obviously haven't seen the contract, and no one has, but that's sometimes what could happen. there is a loophole that, as I said, if Hrgovic steps up and fights Usyk, that might null and void the current agreement between Fury and Usyk, and that allows Tyson Fury to then maybe walk away and either renegotiate or not go ahead with the fight at all. I'm a little bit up in the air about this, the whole scenarios going around from people about expecting this, because as I said at the start, thinking back now, it was like a lot of people said this is always going to happen. So many people that I've seen this morning that said, yeah, so I told you it wasn't going to happen. So what do we make of it? Have we really lost that much faith in Tyson Fury and his legacy, or whatever you want to call it, that we would expect him to pull out of a fight or not be surprised that he's pulled out of a fight? I would try and have a lot more faith in Tyson Fury than that. But when you think about it, he's played us for suckers for probably the last 3 or 4 years. He dangles retirement. He's in, he's out. He's fighting this opponent, that opponent. I still remember when he had a little mini announcement that he'd appointed a new trainer and the next day retired. So this is one guy we cannot take seriously. But I just would have thought with probably one of the biggest heavyweight fight, well, in how long? When was the last? Arguably Wilder and Fury, I suppose you could put in there. But I'm talking the likes of, Lewis, Tyson, and these types of fights maybe. But look, it's just really, really disappointing that we're 2 weeks away. Now, the other thing is people saying with the cut, it looked like maybe it could have been an old photo from, I think that a lot of people saying the Otto Wallen fight. It was either taken after that. Look, the thing about that, what I will say, looking at that photo, and this is the one, I'm actually going to put it up. We'll go back to the Queensberry announcement. If you look at that, there's no other real cuts and bruises and everything on his face. I'd probably discount that it's from the Wallen fight, because in that fight, you get scuff marks and heads rubbing against each other, and you do get a lot of abrasions and marks and everything else. So I don't really think it's from that. But is it photoshopped? Look, who knows? What you do see from the footage, I will say, is that Fury immediately grabs for the eye, and there's horrified sounds around the gym. He's cut. Who's bleeding? Because that was the initial fear. Who is actually bleeding here? Is it Tyson or the sparring partner? It looked a pretty rough and tough type of spar, I will say. And the footage that I saw looked like it was the left elbow to the eye that actually split him open. So if that's the case, what were they actually training in camp when they've pretty much got each other in a headlock, or in the sort of uppercutting each other, and then the elbow slips in? I mean, geez, you send someone like Jai Pattaya home, and whoever it is, I haven't found out who the sparring partner was yet, but with the using heads and elbows and shoulders and everything else, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And the other thing is, normally in these big fights, 2 weeks out, this would have to be very close to his last spar. So again, what are you doing with that rough and tough type of spar a couple of weeks out from the fight? Normally, a week to 2 weeks out, they're starting to hone the reflexes and timing and sharpness and a bit of range. So they do the real hard sparring up until about 2 weeks out. So maybe this might have been his very last spar, which, if that is the case, would make it very, very unlucky for Tyson Fury. But he's not. Were they expecting this type of fight from Usyk, where they're in close wrestling and using elbows and shoulders and heads? I don't get it. It's not really Usyk's style to do that. So who knows? Jack Dilk says, "Hello, Jack. I saw on the video on Twitter, and I can understand why it's postponed. Just a shame he's got the track record that he does as of late." Yeah, it is the case, mate. Look, as I said before, if it really got to the point where we expected this from Tyson Fury, is that how much his legacy has dipped? This is a guy who, 2-3 years ago, whatever it was getting so much praise for the second victory over Deontay Wilder and the heart that he showed. Yes, it did dip with the Francis Ngannou fight, but now that's been proven. Well, maybe it will be proven, depends on what happens with Anthony Joshua, to take that fight on. It was a risky fight, and then to back up so quickly. Has it dipped that much that he hasn't really fought guys? I mean, was it White and Chisora, these types of guys? I never was really enthused about those guys anyway, but this was going to be the fight that was going to hopefully be the one that would elevate him a little bit more back to the standing that we knew. I think we all knew it was never going to happen in December, when I think it was supposed to happen originally, and February seemed a more logical date. But now it's going to be June. That's a hell of a lot of time for something else to happen, for Fury to maybe, and let's face it, he's a roller coaster of emotions, is Tyson Fury. He's up, he's down, he's left and right. All you have to do is watch the Netflix documentary on him to realise, and he self-confessed bipolar and depression and ADHD, all these different things rolled into one. So he would be a handful at home, and you could see that in the documentary with his wife, Paris, who had to put up with a lot, and all the people around him. So this is 4 to 5 months of the roller coaster of Tyson Fury. Does he want to fight the rematch? Does the motivation now disappear? Was it up for this fight, and now it'll just drop off a cliff, and he won't be motivated to fight Usyk anymore? Does he go into retirement and then change his mind later in the year? Who knows with Tyson Fury? I'm going to be for one, and yeah, Ram, let your opinions be known there. Ducker, yeah, look, I don't know. Would you go through this whole thing, Ram, where you sign for the fight, you go for the one and only press conference we've had, by the way? Do you go through all that? Do you start training camp? Do you go into all the promos? You would have seen the video they've done with it. A quite impressive video, I will say, by the way, that they've done to promote the fight. And then 2 weeks out, pull out. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. This is just my opinion. The benefit of the doubt that it is a legitimate injury, a legitimate cut, and it's just bad timing. I have to, because I just can't think of any other excuse. As I said, why would you go through the whole promotion video, the whole lead up to it, the whole training camp, the whole everything? Or did he actually enter a training camp? This is probably the first footage we've seen from the camp, although Jai Patai did confirm that they had been doing some sparring. So I've got no doubt the training camp did kick off, but where to? All I can say is I'm obviously speaking for you guys out there as well. They're disappointed. It's just that boxing, this was going to be a big year for boxing. This was, we've already had some big fights in the last couple of months. We're about to have this event. We're about to have Joshua and Ngannou. For speaking again from the Aussie point of view, we've got Zhu and Thurman in Vegas. So many big Kambosos, Lomachenko in June, but that's just from an Australian point of view, but from a world view, where we're going to get maybe Haney and Garcia, or Haney versus anyone would be great. Whether or not Garcia's earned it is another question, but those are the type of fights we've been discussing this already this year, and this is just not a great way to start the year. Although I'm sure, again, it's only early. What is it, about a quarter past or 20 past 11 here in the morning here in Australia. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of videos coming out in the next sort of 24, 48 hours, a lot of feedback, a lot of conjecture, a lot of theories. Look, I'm just going to go with this at the moment, that I'm going to back the Fury side of the story. As disappointed as I am, I'm going to back the story. There's too much money and time and everything invested in this. I would think it's one thing to do it against Derek Chisora or a Derek White or one of these types of guys, but to do it against or in an event of this stature, it's pretty ballsy even for Tyson Fury. So Dillian White, I should have said, by the way. Sorry, I think I called him Derek White. I'm just thinking there. So, so I'm just going to, as I said, give him the benefit of the doubt. This is too big an event to pull a Tyson, if you want to call it, and pull out of the fight. And so much riding on it. So I've got no doubt they will try and reschedule it, or they will reschedule it. Whether or not we make it to June is another thing. My money is that Usyk will fight on the 17th, and someone like Hrgovic or someone like that will step up. I will say one thing, again, just with my Australian hat on here, that if Jai Patai wasn't in such a big fight on the undercard, I would have loved for him to stepped up and fought Usyk. I know a lot of people out there will say it might be a little bit ahead of its time. I don't think it is. I think that would have been a really, really good fight to test himself, Jai Patai. I'm sure he would have done it, but the Breeders' fight is too big in its own right for him and where he stands in his career to make that jump at the moment. So I think Hrgovic will step in. Don't really think there's anyone else around. I mean, we have got the Joshua Ngannou fight. What is it? 3 weeks after this one. So maybe they could have looked at someone like that and Ngannou, or probably not Joshua, because of course they've already fought twice, but maybe a Parker or a Zhang or someone to go off that card and fight on this one. But being 3 or 4 weeks earlier than expected, it would be really hard for these guys to suddenly train all their training camp preparations and tactics and all that sort of stuff only 2 weeks away from the event. So I get that they won't probably do that, but it will be Hrgović. But I must say, as I said, I would have loved for maybe Joe Pataia to maybe jump up and see how he goes. But what are your thoughts, guys? Put it in the comment section there. I think I share your thoughts to say that really, really disappointed this has happened. But again, are we surprised? Is it just me? I just said it at the start, or is it just me? I've seen nothing in the lead up to it. Normally in these big fights, there's regular press conferences, regular training camp reports, reporters in there that are getting interviews from the guys. This is the biggest heavyweight fight for a long time. And as I said at the start, the first time the 4 belts have all been on the line in one fight. I'm assuming that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've done a bit of a deep dive already, and excuse the pun there, the deep dive into it, and can't really find any examples of that. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the magnitude of that fight, it just makes it all the more disappointing. Hopefully we'll get the fight down the track, but I'm not going to hold my breath considering it's 4 to 5 months away and anything can happen with Tyson Fury in that time. So, guys, I hope you enjoy your weekend without having this on your mind. I know we're all a bit shattered about it, but it is what it is. I'm sure with so many big events coming during the year, there'll be plenty more to come. And as I said before, put your thoughts and comments down below, and let's hope we get some other good news to compensate for this one. I did say in my weekly roundup yesterday, by the way, that the news comes and goes so quick in this industry that there'll be something pop up straight after this, and here we go. The day after I've put that video out, this has happened. So that's why I thought I'd do the quick live video. So again, guys, have a really good weekend. I hope there's more good news coming your way. There might be another big fight. They always say for one door closed, another one open. So let's hope that maybe in the next week or two we get a big fight announcement of some other massive fight in the boxing world, and we can forget about this quickly and move on to the next one. So have a good weekend, and we'll catch you later.